All right, folks, welcome in. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we are going to be getting you ready for the 2025 NFL Draft from a Rams perspective. You see Tyler Warren on screen here, and there's a reason for it because there was something that came out today. Diana Rossini reported that the Rams are looking to once again try and trade up for a tight end. They are in position to do that. To be honest with you, I don't agree with it, but we're going to get into what that means, what you can take seriously, what you can't take seriously. What is smoke screens? Well, what is a smoke screen nowadays? What can you actually take seriously as being a fact as opposed to being something that is entirely put out there to lure teams or to stray teams away from thinking a certain thing? So, we're going to get into that. Before we do, be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan. Check out my YouTube channel as well. You can do that. It's Jake Ellenbogen. I do all sorts of Rams content pretty much 24/7 at this point. So be sure to check all that out. But let's talk about it because there's often times where there's stuff that gets leaked right before the draft and you kind of read right through it and you're like, that's BS. I don't buy that. Right. Then there's some other stuff that makes you go, interesting. That actually seems interesting there. What does that mean? And so I think when you look at this trade up thing, I think there's some truth to it, but I don't necessarily think the Rams want to trade up. I think the Rams want a pass catcher. I think that I've said that for a while. I've maintained that. I'm not going to rule out like a running back as well, but I think they want an offensive weapon to give to Matthew Stafford and to try and win a Super Bowl with. And Tyler Warren is definitely one of those players that they could do that with. Now, here's the deal with Tyler Warren. He's projected to go at 7 to the New York Jets by a lot of people. Okay. So that is the intriguing thing here, is that he is supposed to go earlier than this. So that could be, something to keep an eye on. Now, it's worth mentioning that in Daniel Jeremiah's final mock draft he just posted, like literally an hour ago, he has Tyler Warren going to the Bears at 10. The Rams would have to move up from 26 to 9 in his scenario to jump in front of the Bears and take Tyler Warren. Now, keep this in mind. There's another tight end. His name is Colston Loveland. And these are the two guys that are rumored to go in the first round. Tyler Warren's going in the first round. Colston Loveland is likely going in the first round. So here is the deal. I think the Rams are interested in both tight ends. I think they also like Mason Taylor. I think they really like Harold Fannin Jr. And I think there's some other tight ends that they would like an Elijah Arroyo, guys like that. But the important thing to remember is that when this stuff gets leaked right before the draft, it's not always true. I don't expect the Rams to make some gaudy trade up to get one of these players. I do expect, by the way, that the Broncos are going to trade up to get Colston Loveland. What's intriguing here is in this Daniel Jeremiah final mock draft, he has the Rams selecting Omarion Hampton, staying at 26. Doesn't look like he has any trades for the Rams. Well, no, because they're picking 26, but he has other trades. Is there a chance that the Rams could actually stay and pick at 26? Maybe, but I don't subscribe to that either. I think they want to trade out. I think there's a real opportunity here to trade out. I think there's also some other players. If they don't go pass catcher, they could look at a guy like Trey Amos. I think Amos is a stud. He's my number one corner in this draft. They could look at Amos. If he falls in their lap and they stay at 26, they could look at Jahdae Barron, who could play the star role, right? Could pretty much allow you to take Quentin Lake and put him at safety. So there is a real thing there. Like, he would be a fit. Where is Jahdae Barron going to go? Well, it's kind of all over the place. I don't know where he's going to go. Daniel Jeremiah has Jahdae Barron Doesn't even look like he has him in the first round. I don't even see him in the first round. So I'm looking at his mock right now. He's got Cam Ward, obviously, at 1, at 2, Travis Hunter, at 3, Abdul Carter, at 4, Will Campbell, Ashton Genty at 5, Kelvin Banks Jr. at 6, Armand Membao at 7, Mason Graham at 8 to Carolina, at 9, Michael Williams to the Saints, 10, Tyler Warren, 11, Gray Zabel to the 49ers, Tataroa McMillan off the board at 12. Then he's got Colston Loveland at 13, Shamar Stewart at 14, Jalen Walker at 15, Emeka Ibuka at 16, Donovan Ezeraku at 17, Jackson Dart via trade up at 18 with the Giants, Matthew Golden at 19 to the Bucks, Malachi Starks at 20 to the Dolphins, Shador Sanders at 21 to the Steelers, Travion Henderson at 22 to the Chargers, Maxwell Hairston at 23 to the Packers, Derek Harmon 24 to the Vikings, Tyler Booker to the Texans, and then Omarion Hampton to the Rams. So, Johnny Barron, he does have going to Washington. So Barron would be there in this scenario, right? Kenneth Grant would be there in this scenario. Is Kenneth Grant the type of guy that you could really see them going after? That I don't know. I don't know if they would go interior defensive line. I don't. I think Malachi Starks is another one that's intriguing. Siobhan Revel Jr., right? Or Savon Revel Jr. Emeka Ibuka. Now, he has him going earlier, but I could see these guys. Here's what I'm curious with, though, is that there's all this talk now about them trading up. And we had other mock drafts. Daniel Jeremiah does not have them trading down. But we've had plenty of other mock drafts. Peter Schrager has been really accurate, and he has an in with the Rams. We know that. He gives out some good intel. Peter Schrager, he has the Rams trading out. I don't love the haul, but he has the Rams trading out of the first round. That's what I think is probably going to happen. Now, who is that with? I don't know. Ideally, if you could trade with Howie Roseman of the Eagles, take that 32nd spot, get the 64th pick, and give up 101 and 26, that'd be great. Fills in the gap between 26 and 90. But maybe you can't get it done. Maybe you miss out on the fifth-year option. Fifth-year option, in my opinion, only really matters unless you're taking a quarterback. Could the Rams take a quarterback in the first round? I believe they could. I absolutely believe they could. I think it's 100% possible that they could take a quarterback. Is it likely? Well, I have Jalen Milroe going to the Rams at 32, but we'll just have to see how the board looks. I guess really the question I have is if the Rams are willing to trade up, all the way up, what's stopping them from trading all the way up? So instead of going after, Tyler Warren, you say you throw caution to wind and you go after like a Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty. What's stopping you from doing that? If you're already going to go, you're going to give up 2026 draft capital. Why would you not do that? See, I don't agree with it, but this is where it gets interesting. Are they really a trade up candidate? And to me, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. There's also some stuff coming out about them liking Tyler Shuck. I don't get that, but I guess to a degree he has kind of a similar play style to Stafford, but the one that's really intriguing to me, and I don't know if the Rams are going to have like tons of interest in him. He's falling down boards. Feels like he's probably going to go in the second round now. Luther Burden III. Like, I'm surprised with how much this guy has dropped. And I don't really understand it. I guess the hand size is the big reason, whatever, but I don't really understand it. So it really is interesting. Going in, and we're on draft eve right now. We're in draft eve. What's going to go down? I think looking at the Rams, that's a really interesting question. Is Milroe a smokescreen? That's a really interesting question. I don't think so. And actually, I think they're kind of almost reverse Uno carding everybody. And what I mean by that is when you look at, say, the top 30 visit with Milrow, right? The top 30 visit with Milrow. When you look at that, they normally don't have top 30 visits, right? They don't. They normally don't have top 30 visits with quarterbacks either. And you look at that and they do that, and it's like it's out there, this is how they normally operate. And they normally don't do top 30 visits. And that's going to get leaked because it gets reported to the NFL. So you want that to get out or you don't want it to get out, but it's like everyone already knows that you never meet with anybody. So on one hand, you could have other teams thinking, "Oh, they're trying to pull one over on us. This is clear they never meet with anybody. They're not interested in him." But on the other, they could also be reverse Unoing everybody and saying, "Look, the way we see it is everyone knows our tendencies. It's not hard to figure out. We don't meet with players. We're meeting with this guy. People are going to think it's the other way around when we actually really like this guy and we will be drafting him." The thing that I find really fascinating is I keep going back to a few years ago. Malik Willis comes out in the draft with Kenny Pickett. And NFL media was going crazy about the idea of Malik Willis going in the top 10. At one point, someone brought up the top 5, and then they kind of settled, okay, he's going to go in the top 15 right before the draft. During the draft, whoosh, falls right down the board, ends up going in the 3rd round. Is that what Jalen Milrow is going to do? I feel even more confident than ever. If Jalen Milrow falls in the 3rd round, he is 100% going to be a Ram. I still think they're in play here to make this pick. I do think ultimately, I'm not putting 100% confidence into it, but I do think if I had to pick one, I think they're going to get, I really do think they're going to get Milrow. But I love that comment, Hot Mike User, because it's going to be interesting. They don't do top 30 visits. We're about to find out. And keep in mind, whatever the Rams decide to do, that is a tell for the future. So in doing that, say they do pick Milrow. Now teams know, oh, okay, they did a top 30 visit. They picked this guy. Okay. But remember last year, it wasn't a top 30 visit. They had a meeting. They had Ram scouts and what have you fly out and meet with Chop Robinson, and then turned around and passed on him for Jared Verse at pick 19. It's interesting, isn't it? They met with Chop Robinson right before the draft, And they had a chance to draft him at 19, and they passed him up. The question is, do these meetings dictate anything? Did the meeting with Chop Robinson go poorly to the point where they didn't draft him? Did the meeting with Chop Robinson hold no purpose except for evading teams and having teams not believe that, okay, they're not going to go with Jared Verse? They met with Chop Robinson. They'll pick Chop. Like, that's the question. And we don't normally get an answer to that stuff. We'll never find out. But looking at last year, it was kind of like getting people's attention over to Chop. And then it turns out they're meeting with Jared Verse behind closed doors. It's certainly interesting. It's certainly something to think about. And it brings us to the point of this live stream. The idea that there are smoke screens, which all it's trying to do is to basically act as a facade. Nothing about a smoke screen is supposed to be real. It's supposed to sound real. It's supposed to push people in another direction. Like, I think the Tyler Shuck news was entirely just a smoke screen. Keep in mind, before all this, there was a quarterback by the name of Jackson Dart, whether I like him or not as a first round pick, there was a quarterback by the name of Jackson Dart who was linked to the Rams like crazy. Remember that? Wasn't that long ago? Like everybody was mocking him in the Rams. Now nobody's mocking him to the Rams. So is it mission accomplished? Did the Rams want Jackson Dart all along and they used the Jalen Milroe visit and they leaked the information about Tyler Shuck and they leaked trading up to try to get teams to maybe go after those pass catchers, get him off the board and avoid taking Jackson Dart? Is this all a play to get Jackson Dart? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it's they like Jalen Milroe. They leaked the Jackson Dart thing or it got out one way or another to kind of push aside and have people believe, okay, I see the fit. It's perfect. All of that, which it worked because if you remember all those mock drafts, everybody and their mother was sending Jackson Dart to the Rams, except for Rams fans. But notice how no one is mocking Jalen Milroe to the Rams, except for me. There's really not a soul that's mocking him there. I saw Shedeur Sanders more than I saw Jalen Milroe. So I guess really the thing here that you have to ponder is it a mission accomplished? Was their goal ultimately to push people away from the actual truth that they like Milroe? He's their guy. The visit had to happen because they needed to check a box or two. And ultimately, they don't care. If it gets out, it gets out. Nobody's going to buy it anyway. And so we're just going to take him. And to that, I say, that sounds possible. Now, keep this in mind. There are opportunities to get pass catchers that can contribute day one, even if you take Milroe at 26 or 32 or via a trade down. I think right now, I'm kind of wrestling with the idea that the Rams are sitting there at 26. I don't believe they're going to take anybody at 26. I do believe they'll trade down. The question remains, though, is that what are the Rams going to do with that 2026 crop of picks? Because my proposal, and I didn't put this in my mock draft because this is ballsy. I did it once last year. I'm not going to do it again this year. I had them taking Fashanu via a trade up to pick 11, I believe. And then I had them taking, in buying a pick, giving up a first rounder in 2025. I had them trading into the first round again and taking Chop Robinson. That was my initial thing. I'm not mocking it this year, but I will say I could see, and I'm not saying that'll happen, but I could see everyone's talking about the 2026 draft. Teams don't want to trade up. They don't, whatever. They just want to stay in place. They're focusing on the 2026 draft. And the Rams are like, you know what? We got our quarterback. That's a big selling point to the 2026 draft is the quarterback class. But if you get Milroe, is there really any flair for you? It's still going to be a really good class, but is there any flair for you? Because you already have the quarterback. And that is where that's what really intrigues me the most here. Is that if the Rams look at it like, if we just get Milroe or we get Dart or whoever, we get our quarterback, we don't need that first round pick in 2026. We can trade that away. We can buy another pick and we can get a guy because we got the quarterback. Now we want to get a guy that's going to be able to play on the field on Sundays immediately. And then you can start to look at, now you trade back in the first round with one of your first round pick in 2026 or your second round pick in 2026. You trade back in the first round or you trade early second round after taking a quarterback, whoever it is. And then you get a guy that can play right away. You get some of the talent that's slipping. Is that Trey Amos? Is that Luther Burden III? Is that Mason Taylor? This is what I'm talking about. So, in conclusion, there are a lot of ways the Rams can go in. I think everyone's talking about one way or another, trading up, trading down, staying put. What people are not talking about in those trades, whatever, They're not talking about giving up 2026 draft capital. And I believe with the Rams in the position they're in, giving up that second round pick this year to move up and get Braden Fisk, I believe that there's a chance they're going to do it again. So that way they can close that gap, because 26 to 90 in a draft like this, when the meat of the draft is in that second round, that's a tough pill to swallow. That long to wait, I think the Rams are going to trade down, and I wouldn't be surprised if they buy another pick by using 2026. The normal valuation, very simple. Next year's pick, whether it's a first round, a second round, it always kind of deviates between you take a first round pick in, a future first round pick. That pick is almost always going to act like a late second rounder. But with how highly respected and talked about and lauded and touted the 2026 draft is, I don't think that 2026 valuation holds the same. I think it's different. I think ultimately, when you look at the 2026 draft, trading down from, trading a 2026 first round pick isn't a late second, but rather an early second and even a late first rounder. Almost equal value. We'll find out. I don't know what the valuation is. The only way to find that out is during the draft, but it's something to keep in mind. As far as the Rams are concerned, I think a lot of this stuff is smokescreen. And I know one thing for certain as I wrap this up, they're going to do something to blow our minds during the draft. So I have no doubt about that. Anyway, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already, Jake Ellenbogen. Check me out on all social media, JK Bogan, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, folks, and enjoy the draft. Later.